and I believe it will be when and not if we get favorable candidates with good results, we will be able to make them available to the American public, as I said to this committee months ago, within a year from when we started, which would put us at the end of this calendar year and the beginning of 2021. The doses that would be available, a couple of 100 million doses in the beginning of the year. Some companies saying that in a couple of years, a year or two, they'll have as many as 1 billion doses. I think that's real. Most people would raise their eyebrows and think that how is that going to happen? And it is because things are being done at risk. Companies are starting to plan to make doses even before the vaccine works. So the risk of the speed is not risk to safety, it's not risk to scientific integrity, it's risk to money. So put that aside. The point that Congressman Upton made, I think is very important. We need to be careful that we don't jump because of our need to get vaccines for those who need it, that we do not definitively prove safety and efficacy before we make decisions about distribution. We've heard a lot about emergency use authorization. An emergency use authorization is important, but it has to be done in a situation where you fulfill the criteria for the emergency use authorization. I would be very disappointed if we jumped to a conclusion before we knew that a vaccine was truly safe and truly effective, because I wouldn't want the perpetual ambiguity of not knowing whether or not it is truly safe and truly effective. That's the reason why we're doing several randomized placebo-controlled trials with power enough that could give us that answer. We're going into the first phase 3 efficacy trial in July. It takes at least a month to get to the second dose because it's a prime boost. You'll take another couple of months to accrue or enroll enough people that if there is viral activity in the community, and we have our sites not only in the United States, but all over the world, in Brazil and in South Africa. So if we get an efficacy signal, you're going to get an efficacy signal more quickly the more cases there are. Now, if it turns out that there are not a lot of cases, it may take longer. And that's the reason why you can't give an accurate prediction of when you're going to get those data. We will be successful in getting a vaccine. There's never a guarantee of that, but the early data that we're seeing regarding the immunogenicity and the induction of good responses makes me cautiously optimistic, always knowing that there's never a guarantee. You remember I told your committee a few months ago that a vaccine would be available from a year to 18 months. I said that in January of 2020. A year from January is December. I still think there is a reasonably good chance that by the very beginning of 2021, that if we're going to have a vaccine, that we will have it by then. You've probably heard that one of those vaccines, and there are more than one, there are several that are moving along at various paces. One of them will enter phase 3 study in July. This is one that has already shown in preliminary studies some very favorable response in the animal models that were developed. There will be others that will follow 1 month, 2 months, 3 months later. Although you can never guarantee at all the safety and efficacy of a vaccine until you actually test it in the field, we feel cautiously optimistic based on the concerted effort and the fact that we are taking financial risks, not risks to safety, not risks to the integrity of the science, but financial risks to be able to be ahead of the game so that when, and I believe it will be when and not if, we get favorable candidates with good results, we will be able to make them available to the American public, as I said to this committee months ago, within a year from when we started, which would put us at the end of this calendar year and the beginning of 2021.